Hey guys, Mitchell Bouchard, and welcome to another episode of Red Cape Learning. Today's episode is going to be an excerpt from our DSLR Filmmaking Masterclass. The goal of this episode is to show you guys how to light a morning scene for video, how you could even use a shower curtain to get a nice, soft, diffused look on your talent. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and leave me a comment below and tell me what you thought about this episode as well.
I just want to introduce you guys to my talent, Dominica. So say hi.
Hi.
Awesome. So right now we're going to get into kind of what's important in the scene. And for this scene that I created, it's very simple. So what we have are books on the table and we have coffee. So if you're doing a scene where it's a corporate interview or a scene where you have your actor or actress in a bedroom and they're reading or something like that, this is what you want to learn. And the style of lighting that we're going to do is high key. So what that means is it's basically the complete opposite of contrasted lighting. So what we want to do is really bring up a lot of light and have really nice soft light. And it's not going to be very dramatic. That's one thing about this lighting style, is that we're not going to go dramatic. The main thing is that we're going to give really nice, very clear, soft light. And for our actress too, she's got really nice long hair, and that's going to help us out a lot. So when we use the hair light, we're really going to be able to emphasize all of that. As you can tell, you could probably hear the noise of the fan. That's something to think about when you get into locations. For us, it's not really a big deal because we're not really emphasizing sound. It's more visuals. So we have a lot of windows. I could block those out, but I want to keep this really, really simple. So what we're going to be messing around with today are 2 LED lights, a bounce, which is something we got from the dollar store even. And the other thing that we're going to do is diffuse the light, which is really, really important. So let's get right into it. Okay guys, so we're now going to get into the blocking. So what is blocking? To make it very simple, blocking is essentially running through your scene so that you know what's going to happen. So you have your lighting, your sound, everybody on set knows what's going on. For this particular scene, it's just me filming. I'm doing all the lighting and all the other stuff. And we're going to keep this very simple, a lot like the entire course. It's the complete fundamentals that we're looking at. So Dominica over here, this is what's really important. Usually when a talent comes on set and they don't know what's going on, communication is the main thing. So Dominica, what we're going to do is when I yell action, so when we get into the camera operating part and the lighting, when I say action, I just want you to go through your book, okay? So just turn the pages and drink your coffee. Like, this scene is very simple, but if you have a complex scene where maybe you're doing camera movement, you're doing more advanced stuff, it's really hard to achieve the scene when your actor, your actress isn't doing the same thing every time. And to have them, because we already talked about this, she knew what she was doing. She knew in advance what we were getting into. A lot of times when you go on a set, we get eager to, play with the camera, to get those shots, but it's not very important. Don't worry about the camera. Don't stress the camera. Just remember that the blocking in the story is the most important part. So now we're going to talk about camera positioning. And what's really important to know about this is, again, understanding your story. We have Dominica right there, and she is reading a book, and she's also drinking some coffee. Very, very simple story. But when it comes to the cinematography portion, what does it take to achieve that? What do you want to show? Those are the kind of questions you have to ask. So for this shot, I already have the camera pretty much set up for this course, of course. So really, I wouldn't want the camera moving at all. That's not really a good style that you want to have. When somebody's sitting down, typically, it's always good to lock things down on a tripod. It's very simple to do like a 180, do a Michael Bay shot, but it depends on the mood and tone. For this actual shot, if you read in the description with the notes too that I've given you, it says very clearly that she's drinking coffee and reading a book. So that's what we're going to stick to. So if we go into the shot here, you can actually see that the composition is way off. It's really dark, and we're going to change the settings later. Here, let's bring up the ISO a little bit so we can actually see. But right now, we've got a lot of headroom, and that isn't really good. We don't want to have a lot of headroom It's not something that you want to do because it looks very amateur. It looks like a home video when you do that kind of stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is compose a shot much better. So let's bring that shot down and get the focusing, and it's already getting better, but obviously it's blue and we have to change the lighting. Now, what we're gonna do in the next section is go through lighting, and we're gonna see a huge dramatic change from this to an actual more professional look, where we're gonna diffuse the light and it's gonna be a completely different kind of look. So step 4 is lighting. Now, what lighting entails is quite a bit. We're gonna turn this shot that we have currently, that's all blue, mushy. It's hard to even tell if it's in focus. Now it is. But this isn't what we want. I want this to look like daytime, like she's reading and enjoying her coffee. Right, Dominica? Right. Of course, yeah, exactly. We're just messing with her on set. So what we want to do is start off with the key light. Now, your key light is your main light, often your brightest light. And I have a controller in my pocket, and things are already set up, like I said, because I wanted to streamline this, make it a little bit easier to do. So let's turn on this key light. Okay, now you can see it's even more blue. That is because the white balance is off. That light is 5600 Kelvin. I'm sure this is set to like 2200 Kelvin. That's why it's appearing more blue. But what you want to do even before all that is turn off the house lights. So all the lights that are inside. Okay, so right now we've got a consistent daylight coming in, and we'll change the settings because this is still not a good look. This is not really what we want right now. Okay, so let's start off with the key light. We know that we have the controller, so in terms of intensity, we can change that. We'll do the camera stuff later. So your key light is your main brightest light. It's kind of in position already. For this shot, we know we don't want to have it too close because it's going to be way too harsh. What we want to do with this key light for this scene to make it look the way I want it to look is we have to diffuse this light. So the first thing you want to do, obviously, keep it at a distance where you know you can play with your aperture and bring it up to speed. But what we want to do is diffuse this light. So right now, I have a little panel. It's this little Velcro. And obviously, that's way too harsh. What we're going to do is add even more diffusion to this. And what that'll do is wrap around the subject's face even more. And nothing better than a shower curtain, right? So we actually have a shower curtain from the dollar store. And as you can see right now, let's bring that up a little bit. This is going to make a bigger source, and it's also going to diffuse the light even more. So if we go to our shot, it is getting more diffused, but obviously still way too blue. Now the next step is the hair light, which we have over there. Kind of see over here. So that is button number 1. Now you can probably see a difference with that. So we'll turn the hair light off. And what's that doing is, well, we had Dominica on purpose. She has long blonde hair, and we want to emphasize that. If somebody is either bald or maybe they just don't want to show off their hair, don't show that. They might not want it. But in this case, it's a good way to separate her from the background. And what it's also going to do is kind of give a rim light to the cup, to the books and everything else. But we have a lot of changes to make. So let's get into the fill light. Okay, so the next step is the fill light. What we have here is just some tape and a board from Dollarama. Very cheap stuff. What this will do is actually bounce the key light. You just got to make sure it's out of frame. But what it's going to do is you want to get it close. And especially on close-ups, not necessarily for this shot, but what it's going to do is bounce the key light into the other side of her face. And if you do notice over here, come around on that side, our key light, and with the shower curtain, is on the opposing side of the camera. What that's going to do is give a little more darkness, a little more dramatic side on the opposing side of the camera. So just remember to cross those. So you want to have everything crossing when you can. So that's our main shot. We definitely need to fix the white balance, and we're going to do that when we get into all the settings. So step 5 is the settings subsection. And this one is really important because we have some pretty bad issues with our image right now. I know that our lighting's set because we got a good key light, our hair light is on point, and it honestly hasn't taken us much to do that. Let's dive into a couple of the settings to make it look better. The first one we're gonna do right now is change the white balance. Okay, let's go right into it. So I just changed the white balance to 5500 Kelvin. And what that has done is it's told the camera what white is in the scene. Right now we have 5500, which is basically your daylight, which is a really pure white light. And that's what the camera is reading now. So instead of it reading tungsten and thinking that your daylight is like really blue, it's gonna look way more accurate now. The next setting that you want to change on your camera is going to be your shutter speed. You may have shutter angle, which plays a little bit different, but it's still the same concept. So whatever frame rate you have, your shutter speed should be double, especially if you're going for that more natural, organic look. And for this scene, that's exactly what I want. So right now we're going to change it to 50, and it's obviously going to let in a little more light because the shutter is going to let in more light. And then beyond that, we have the aperture. Now, like we talked about in previous sections, that's gonna play a lot with your depth. And our depth should be pretty good because we have a nice kicker, a nice hair light, and a good key light. We have a lot of light coming in, but I can tell that this shot in particular is underexposed. I want it to be more bright and fuller. So let's go from an f4 to an f2.8. There we go, now we have a much better exposure. This is actually looking pretty good. So action, Dominica, I just want you to read the book and take a sip there. Now we have our last step to do, and that is going to be fine tuning everything. We know that we have our shutter speed / shutter angle proper. Everything's in focus. Our lights, unfortunately, we can't bring them any brighter. And our aperture is already at a 2.8, which we're actually using an old contact Zeiss Yashica to EOS lens, which is very cheap. We also have a shower curtain. So this is something that you guys can achieve on almost any budget. If you don't have a budget for it, you're probably gonna be shooting on your phone anyways. Now, if we change the ISO, which is the image sensitivity of the sensor, we can bump this to 400, and I think that's gonna give us our look that we need. There we go. So perfect. But you can tell like the lights are just phenomenal right now. I'm going to turn off the key light. Now you can see what the hair light's doing. We're going to turn off the hair light. Now let's turn on the key light. And notice how that's a nice soft look. It's almost as if there's a window right over here. So we created that artificially with a shower curtain. So if you have a shower curtain at home, I suggest maybe you go to a dollar store or buy it elsewhere. Do not rip your parents' shower curtain off. I'm not responsible for that. Now we're going to turn on the hair light. And look at that. It adds a little bit of ambience, a little more lighting, and a little more punch in the background. And it's just a beautiful light. I didn't diffuse that one because she has nice, beautiful long hair, and it really emphasizes. So we definitely want that to be a little more brighter. It's another kind of tip. Your key light, you want it to be a very soft source to wrap around your subject's face, but your kicker or hair light, you can add a little more punch to that. You have DPs like Wally Pfister, and you have many directors that like to do that, like to give a nice little rim light, and that just comes from this right here. There you go. So I'm pretty happy with that look. I just want to thank you guys for checking out how to shoot an indoor scene, and I hope you can take this and turn it into something like this.
Anyhow, I hope this helps you guys out. Next time you go to film and recreate your own scene, the high key look is very effective. Depending on what your client wants, or maybe you're making a film or a movie and you just want a nice bright morning look. This is something that you can do, and please don't be ripping down your mom's shower curtains. Go out, buy your own. I think I got that one for like $2 or $3 at the dollar store. So yeah guys, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and we'll see you in next week's episode.